Welcome back to Fast Market here on the Schwab Network. It's time for our cash tag segment. For that, we're going to bring in Megan Brantley. She's the Vice President of Research at LikeFolio. Welcome back to the show, Megan.
Thanks for having me, guys. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, too. This has been a long week. Good week for the markets. Not a good year so far for Home Depot. This stock's pulled back pretty significantly. Still up about 7% this week. Higher interest rates, nobody moving. Maybe the consumer's a little bit light on buying things at some of these home improvement retailers. But what kind of data do you have here on Home Depot?
Yeah, so whenever we look at Home Depot, you're right, the company has certainly faced some headwinds over the last year. But when we're listening now to consumers, especially heading into this, I think, key holiday shopping season, we're starting to see some improvements. We're starting to see the consumer at least gain a little bit of confidence on our end. Home Depot mentioned buzz is up by about 21% year over year. This is, a positive trajectory and kind of in line with the moves that we've seen in the stock recently. But if you look at a chart that showcases these mentions versus the stock moves, you can see there's still a little bit of divergence here. And you can see this inflection point around August where we really started to see Home Depot gain a little bit of momentum again. Whenever we look at mentions, we see this is actually being driven a lot by consumers who are talking about working on some small projects. And we're actually starting seeing some mentions of people who are investing in potentially even like new appliances like washers and dryers, which was surprising to start to see that start to just tick back up again after going down for some time. So I think that this is a name, at least from a consumer perspective, that is starting to gain a little bit of its groove back.
Megan, when we compare, and we often do, and we're going to on this show, Home Depot and Lowe's, it's really, in terms of home improvement retailer, a two-horse race. But really, Megan, it's almost a one-horse race now, isn't it? Home Depot seems to be always winning against Lowe's at different levels, but now it's even better. And if you put up a long-term chart of Home Depot, this is not a recommendation. I have no idea where the stock's going. But history tells us when this stock has gotten weak, it usually recovers from that weakness, even though this weakness is a little different than some of the others.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And, talking about the divergence just between Home Depot and Lowe's, whenever you look at our web data, which I think that this is another indicator to show, when consumers are looking to purchase something for home improvement, where are they going? We're seeing a larger mention volume going to Home Depot versus Lowe's. So when you look at that overall consumer mind share, and then also you can see the split here. We see web visits are up by about 6% year over year for Home Depot, down by about 3% for Lowe's. So a little bit of a split, but this is just another positive indicator for us, and especially with shares trading so much lower that, maybe there is some building confidence from the consumer's perspective with Home Depot. When given the choice, it does seem that more consumers are opting for Home Depot versus the Lowe's.
When you look at the happiness levels, I think that's always a big concern. Lowe's has made some inroads, taken some market share in the pro division here, Megan. But when I look at their mentions count, typically we don't see that divergence as much. We did maybe, I think mid-chart of this. But do you expect that to continue? Because it seems like, as you mentioned, your mentions are ticking up, and that's a positive, right?
It is. Our mentions are ticking up, and it's nice to see web visits ticking up alongside those mentions. From a happiness perspective, actually, Home Depots and Lowe's are pretty close in our universe. Believe it or not, Lowe's is actually a point or two above Home Depot, both really close to 70% positive. So in our universe, that's pretty positive. Consumers are generally having a good experience when they go to either retailer. We do see that Lowe's it's doing well, but you've got a lower sample size whenever you look at this. So I think it's important to keep that in mind that, overall buzz, Home Depot holds about 77% of those mentions versus a Lowe's in our universe, and that's much larger. So, we do expect to see a little bit of tempering there when it comes to happiness. So I think that the important indicator for Home Depot is that their happiness is improving. It's up by about a point, which isn't much, but it's not going down. And especially alongside those other metrics, it helps to give us a little bit more of a cautiously bullish approach to this name.
And Megan, just real quick, this is a typical retailer, right? If the consumer's feeling good, they have a job, and things of that nature. You typically see positive data on this, and it could easily turn if the unemployment rate continues to move higher or the consumer starts to pull back, right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And so that's something that we'll continue to monitor, especially into this holiday season. You know, are consumers continuing to prioritize these travel and experiences? Are they starting to shift and spend a little more in areas like a Home Depot or a Lowe's? So far, we're starting to see signs of optimism. We're starting to see signs, at least in Home Depot, that there's some building consumer strength, and we'll certainly be monitoring to see if that follows through.
All right, great stuff, great data as always. Have a great weekend, Megan.
Thanks, guys. You too.
All right, that was Megan Brantley, Vice President of Research at LikeFolio, breaking down the positive data for us, Kevin. I did want to make one note, Kevin. Margins shrunk about 8 basis points last quarter.